What's up to Lion Talk Live? Sir, we love you too, buddy.
What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's going on, Coach Dan at Lions Talk Live and the Duke Crew. This is Ball Hawk, Fatima Lafano of the Detroit Lions. Everybody make sure you help support the YouTube channel Lions Talk Live by clicking that like and subscribe button. Let's get it and go Detroit.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live and Coach Dan by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
All right, let's try that again. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton, and I want to thank you all for joining us here today. It's Wednesday, you know what? And we're going to have Ant-Man on bottom of the hour. I even sent him the link twice today, so hopefully there's no issues with that. But as you can tell for today's thumbnail, you know, the national media, you got some people that still believe in the Detroit Lions. You got some people who are definitely trying to throw rocks at a windshield, trying to break it as they throw some shade our way. Whatever it is, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some, you know, developing thoughts, I guess you could say, either out of the Detroit Lions, the national media, you, me, and everybody in between in regards to what we're going to do with these final three games and then the playoffs. Because let's not forget, we have secured a playoff spot. Now it just comes down to, can they win these final three games, secure the number one seed? If you get probably two of them, you're probably going to win the NFC North. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll dive into all that. Real quick, if you have a half second of time, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. We're trying to get this show, or this channel, I should say, to 12,000 subs. So if you can help out with that, that would be great. We're about 152 away from that. Also, we try to get all the thumbs up, likes, etc., between 200 to 300 or more likes on every video. That helps the channel out exponentially. Last but never least, if you are considering a stocking stuffer, or perhaps you just like to read, both can be true, go ahead and get Kajora Book. You can find this on Amazon.com or wherever you purchase your reading literature. It is a historical fiction, but you know what? Hey, it's currently got great reviews. It's almost a 5 out of 5 stars. If you like historical fiction dealing with Native American culture, Japanese or Asian culture, and mythology, go ahead and check it out. The second book releases next year, late next year. So go ahead and check it out. And if you would be so kind, leave a kind review. All right, with all that out of the way, let's get going with the first segment of the day. And as you probably know, it is as 5 headlines now. All right, 5 glorious headlines coming at you right now. Detroit Lions coach is fired up. Dan Campbell drops multiple provocative languages, explicits, during the radio interview in Detroit. CBS Sports story by John Breach with this one. And if you guys were watching 97.1 The Ticket, I became aware of it when I was at the gym yesterday after doing yesterday morning show. Dan Campbell, he's fired up. He's giving you a lot of coach speak. You guys get it. If you've been a fan of this team for any kind of length of time, he's not going to lay down. He's not going to say, man, this, that, or anything. He's going to look for the bright side of any situation. He's going to try to figure this out and try to find the way to get his team to the finish line, and that is the Super Bowl. So Campbell fired up, definitely giving some coaching speech and talk. He let both the announcers know, or radio show hosts know, that this team is not done. They are going to reform. They're going to find a way to make this happen. And he sounded pretty confident about it. And I'm going to say this. I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday. We'll talk about it during the main topic of the day. I do think the Lions have some reasons to feel rays of sunshine and hope. All right, Dave Montgomery still holding out hope he can play this season. This is from NBC Sports, uncredited story. And I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Detroit Lions running back, there are conflicting reports out there. I know Dave Montgomery was trying to get a second opinion. They were looking into potentially him just wearing a brace, all these different factors. He is holding out hope that he can return in the playoffs. Now, whether or not that can happen, I don't know, and I'm not really here to tell you one way or the other because, to be honest, it's not my area of expertise. I do know, since it's not an ACL tear, it is possible to come back. MCL tears, is it possible you can brace it, stabilize it, do some things? At least in my experience, Yes, I can even tell you, man, 20 years ago, that's what they did. They just braced it up and played. Nowadays, it is a little bit different. I think people are a little bit more worried about the long-term prognosis. But then again, you're Dave Montgomery. This is your opportunity. You might just do that. And again, I don't know which is true, whether or not he can or cannot return, but he is pushing to potentially return this season in the playoffs. We'll see if that shakes out. Teddy Bridgewater, another storyline that was popular yesterday, planning on NFL return from Sports Illustrated. This doesn't necessarily mean if he was to come out that he would be with the Detroit Lions. Is it possible? Sure. But then you'd have to create a roster spot for him, or I guess you could put Hendon Hooker on the injured reserve, whatever it may be. Teddy Bridgewater, now that his team has won a state championship in Florida, he is considering playing in the NFL this season. And again, whether or not somebody's going to sign him, I don't know. We'll see what shakes out with that one. All right, Detroit Lions placed 3 players on injured reserve and add a cornerback to the practice squad. Pride of Detroit was on this one. Stanley Thomas Oliver is the cornerback, and as you guys probably already aware, who the Lions players are that went on injured reserve with Lee McNeil, Carlton Davis, etc., and Kalia Dorsey. Hey, we get it. Those guys are going to be out, at least 2 of them for the entire rest of this season, even part of next season at the start. In regards to Carlton Davis, could he potentially return this year? It's possible. Do I think it's going to happen? I'd say it's a delicate situation, because what Carlton Davis might be able to do is he might be able to come out and play in the NFC title game. But also keep in mind that mouth is now wired shut. He's not going to be able to eat solid food during that time. So it'll be my anticipation he's going to lose some mass, some weight. How much of that he can maintain with protein shakes and everything, man, again, I'd probably have to defer to Jen on that one than what my knowledge base is. But anything is possible, right? All right, and the last of the 5 headlines now. Lions have, quote, a lot of confidence, in end quote, in Gibbs to carry the load. DetroitLions.com on this one. Hey, make no mistakes about it. There are some in the national media that think that Gibbs should be the primary running back for the Detroit Lions, irregardless of David Montgomery. And it's no disrespect, I think, from anybody who has that statement in regards to David Montgomery. But let's also face it, Jahmyr Gibbs is rare. He's a very, very dangerous weapon. Anytime he touches the ball, you understand it can be a house call. So this is an opportunity for 3 games. It sounds like the Detroit Lions are planning on giving him the Lions' share of the load. We'll see if that's what they do. I do suspect you'll see some Craig Reynolds and Sion Baki in there as well. But will it be as 50-50 as him and David Montgomery? Probably not. They're probably going to try to give, my anticipation, Gibbs is probably going to get about 75% of the workload at running back, and that may be an explosive opportunity for the Detroit Lions offense. You might see a lot more screen passes, him rolled out into coverage, sort of like you saw with the Buffalo Bills if anybody plays this man-to-man, and Gibbs against any linebacker in the NFL, and I mean any linebacker in the NFL, is going to be a mismatch. I'll even go so far to say that probably 97% of the safeties, if you match them up with them, in a person-to-person situation, he's probably going to roast them. So we'll see what the Lions offense has in store with him. This may ultimately be a big opportunity for Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think personally he's going to take pretty good advantage of it. All right, with all that said and done out of the way with the 5 headlines now, let's get over to the main topic of the day. All right, if you wanted the show to be all negative Nanny and all that kind of stuff, well, that's not going to happen. I made that abundantly clear, hopefully, yesterday. It's not my nature to say, hey, the sky's falling or anything like that. I get the Lions have got a bunch of injuries. And you know what? The national media is all over it. We get it. They've been waiting for an opportunity, the vast majority of the national media, to come out and drop a big hammer on the Detroit Lions. But you know what? That dang 11-game winning streak got in the way of their hate. So Nick Wright, most of you know, he is Debbie Downer times 1,000. He does not like Jared Goff. He doesn't like Dan Campbell. He doesn't like the Detroit Lions. I don't know what he likes, but I know he doesn't like us. He was on his different shows and different shows on Fox Sports and stuff yesterday talking about, hey, the Lions are all done. They might as well play for draft capital, things of that sort. He was saying they have absolutely zero chance to win these final 3 games, let alone win in the playoffs. He feels if they've got to go on the road in the playoffs, they're just going to get roasted. And so you get it. The national media, him included, A lot of people are starting to reiterate that. Colin Cowherd was out there yesterday talking about the Lions and said, hey, basically not a snowball's chance. Unfortunately, the injuries are going to derail him, all that kind of stuff. And him and Nick Wright basically were on the same mindset that, hey, the Lions had an opportunity, but unfortunately, the injury gods or whatever you want to say just derailed the Lions season. He was probably not as negative on the Detroit franchise as Nick Wright, but we get it. Nick Wright is not a Lions fan. Now, the interesting thing, I mentioned this a little bit yesterday with Dan Orlowski. If you guys don't know him, some of you, I guess, probably don't. He is a former Detroit Lions quarterback who now works for ESPN. And yes, he is the guy who ran out of the end zone in the back of the end zone to give the Minnesota Vikings a safety. I know it wasn't intentionally done, but he kind of forgot where he was in the end zone. Being that as it may, he is not negative on the Detroit Lions. He actually thinks the Lions, because of their structure on offense and all the weapons they have, he thinks this actually might make him more dangerous, this injury situation on the defensive side of the ball, because he feels like Dan Campbell or Gambling Campbell, Gamble Man, Dan Gamble, whatever you want to call him, he may just say, the heck with it. We're going to go for it on any fourth down that's, 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and 4, just because, you know what, he understands they can control that side of the line of scrimmage. They can go out there and try to put up 30, 40, 50 points a game and just say, hey, we're going to give up points anyways. Does it really matter if the other team has to drive 80 yards or 5 yards? In his mindset, there is no difference. Campbell made that clear. And I think Dan Orlowski was of that mindset that, hey, if we're going to give up points anyways, we're going to just give our offense every opportunity to match and supersede that. The interesting part to me was Booger McFarland, also of ESPN. I actually like the guy. I think he's a pretty dang good analyst. I think he's pretty spot on with a lot of his takes. He came out and said, look at what you've now made very clear to Aaron Glenn. Look at what you've made clear to Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. That, he reiterated basically what the Orlowski was saying, that the Lions are now going to be uber aggressive on offense, and that may just actually have helped them. But McFarland took it one step further. He said, look at what the Lions do have on defense still and what they don't have. Yes, Hutchinson and all those other great players, Pro Bowl level players are gone. But you can, and he used the second game against the Green Bay Packers as an example. You can out-blitz a lot of coverages. You still have a very good secondary in Detroit. And you may just say, the heck with it. We're going to go after you and be the dominating force. We're going to take half of your playbook away and impose our will on you defensively. Yes, you're going to hit some plays against us, but yes, we're going to make that ball come out now. He used the last year's Detroit Lions as the example. It was a little bit different for sure. But he went on, I thought, a pretty good tangent that if you use last year's Detroit Lions team as the example, nearly made the Super Bowl, maybe should have made the Super Bowl, but the defense really wasn't any different than what you currently, in his opinion, have in Detroit. He did point out, Lions are going to get a couple guys back, and, he didn't go and list them all off, but I think we get it. We're going to get Anzalone back. So the linebacker situation when Anzalone returns, is it really that different than last year? The secondary situation, I would say it's still going to be, even, losing Carlton Davis, it's a big loss, unavoidable. It's a big loss. But is it really that different than last year? And again, I would argue it's actually better this year than it was last year. The defensive line is probably where everybody's going to say it's vastly different. But let's Scooby-Doo this now. If you go what Booger McFarland was saying, that, okay, you lose Lee McNeil, but you got DJ Reader still. So that's, kind of like the same situation as how he was looking at it. The other tackle position, you're going to have to just man up, see what you can get out of, the people you do have there. Aiden Hutchinson is gone, so that is dramatically different. But Zadarius Smith is probably better than whatever defensive end you had opposite Hutchinson last year. So is Booger McFarland, who went on a pretty big tangent about it, is he right with all this? I'm going to say yes. I think he's got some real good points there. Mike Florio, most of you guys know he is a Minnesota Vikings fan. I have no doubt, he wants the Minnesota Vikings to win the North and have maybe the number one seed or whatever it may be. I get all that. But he was actually pretty complimentary yesterday about the Detroit Lions situation. He thinks they can do it. Yes, it'll be a challenge. And you know what? The more I listen to some of these guys, and we talked about it yesterday on the show, the more I think the Lions might just have a golden opportunity here. Is it going to be your most ideal situation? Probably not. but that doesn't mean it doesn't have you don't have a situation without some real upside. So what say you, Duke Crew? We've got about 15 minutes until Anthony gets here from Roar Lions UK. And yeah, I did just check my Twitter or X, and he did get the link, so we're all set there. Michael Dick, greetings and salutations, Coach and Duke Crew. Exclamation points, Superdome, Super Bowl, what pride. Woo, woo. I'll go with all the above, my friend. Rob, greetings and salutations, Coach and Crew. The Lions are the grooviest, Daddy. I like the way you're thinking. Moonscar, good morning. Duke Crew starting lineup, exclamation point. How did the last night's game go, Coach? Nothing reported on Max Prep. We won last night. I want to say it was a tough game, but I want to say it was 50, I don't know, 55, 53 to 36, something like that. Wasn't our best offensive performance by far, but you know what? Give a lot of credit to the other team, to Olivet. They played some real physical basketball, real physical down in the paint. They did a pretty good job limiting us, and you know what? Hey, we found a way to win, though. I was happy with it. Jameer, greetings and salutations. Back at you. Jameer, do you think Monty and Hutch will be back? So this is just my opinion, guys. It does not have to be your opinion. I think the answer is yes. And I don't know the full details of Monty's situation, but the fact that he wants to be back, to me, that's always the most compelling part. I know the Lions and him were already talking about certain waivers and things like that he was going to have to review and sign with his legal aspects or his agency, his agents who represent him. And I don't know if it was a complete tear of the MCL or a partial tear. All those things will matter. If it was a partial tear and they're just reconnecting it, then yeah, I think it's possible the second round of the playoffs he could be back, because that gives him, I'm doing the math in my head, 5 weeks, something like that. Then yes, I think he could be back, but I'm sure that thing is going to have to be braced up. Is his lateral abilities going to be the same? Probably not. That's not going to happen. But is north and south running? Yes, I think he would be fine. Hutchinson, we did a video on it yesterday. My humble opinion, if the Lions when the Lions make the NFC title game, he's going to be out there. I think that's a unavoidable asteroid, coming down on the NFL at this point. He's out there. He's doing everything he can. And again, he's got medical procedures, recovery processes, personnel available to him that 99% of planet Earth does not have. And I know it's tough. I know everybody's going to say, well, I broke my leg and I was never the same, or it took me 20 years to be back. I get it. But you're not Aiden Hutchinson, and you're not an NFL elite player who's got billions of dollars or $1 billion corporation throwing that money at fixing the problem. So my personal opinion, they're both back. Carlton Davis in that same scenario, could he actually be back for the NFC title game? Yes, although I think he would have to be a backup player. You probably get a couple snaps out of him. He might actually, to be fair, he might actually be faster because he will have dropped some weight. But I don't think you're going to want him out there, stuffing the run on the setting the edges on the corners. He's probably going to have to be a backup role player, maybe like a nickel back and stuff like that. But then again, if he's out there, that would probably make your secondary deeper. Art, the Lions are not playing out of desperation. I agree, Art. They are playing with heart, anger, and hunger. No more moldy bread for the Lions, 100% with that. And, again, if the situation in Chicago and the 49ers were a little bit different, I might feel differently about us going into the playoffs. But I do believe, and I know we'll talk about it, I'm sure, this week or whatever, I do believe the Bears have made a business decision that they're basically playing for draft status at this point. You're not going to go to the playoffs. We all get it. It started in the NBA where you kind of intentionally lose out to help your draft status. I could be completely wrong. Maybe the Chicago Bears come out and try to put up 50 billion points on us or whatever. But I personally think in their long-term interest, they're probably more worried about having a higher draft pick than they are about beating the Lions this year. Robert, greetings and salutations. Same to you. Trey, what's good, everyone? Question mark. I listened to a lot of both back and forth maybe yesterday on our chances. Just win Sunday and move on from there. 100%, man. Couldn't agree more. Go out there and get that win. If you win this week, now you got 2 weeks, half a month. You win those 2 games. You find a way to do it. And you know what? Now you are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Now, we just talked about some of these guys potentially coming back. I'm not here to be a medical doctor and say I would advise or not advise it. I don't care. That's their decision, not mine, not yours, or anybody in betweens. We'll let them make their own choices for their health and safety and careers. But let's just say that they do want to do that. They get the number 1 seed. you've taken one game off of the workload for this team. You've now given some of these other guys, Anceloni, Rakestraw, whoever else you want to list, more of an opportunity to heal up. You get to where you win one game and you'll probably have David Montgomery back if he's not back by then. You have Hutchinson back, Carlton Davis back, and whoever the heck else would be back. I have no idea. Rob, here's the reality of the Lions. Sports fandom is a fantasy. The only reality in sports is for the players, coaches, and sports staff. We, as fans, have no more than an emotional stake in the game. 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I get why a lot of people get worked up about it. Hey, we show our pride. We show our love, our passion for our teams, especially at the NFL level. I think the NFL fandom is different than in probably just about every other sport. And it's no disrespect to those other sports. It's just the NFL, for whatever reason, is a little bit higher threshold, I guess you could say, for fandom. Say, Rob, if you are the type of person whose emotions outlet is to troll in fan chats, upsetting the cornflakes of decent people, you are a complete loser. And I would say, not to point anybody out, but I do think I know who you're talking about potentially. And hey, just talk about having nothing to do in life. I would agree with you with some of those guys. See, Just Green, citations, time for AG to come up with something on D to use for these guys. He does have, correct. I like the idea of 3 safety D. I personally think that's, you want to put your best players on the field, right? The vast majority of the time. That's where I think they'll ultimately end up going with things. Because if you look at the Lions safety room, I think it's pretty dang deep. Maybe the deepest in the NFL. So could you have, Brian Branch is one of the safeties, and now you can cover a little bit more, blitz a little bit more. If Melifano, if he really does get back, could you use him in that scenario? Absolutely. Absolutely. Rob, pardon my French, anytime, man, not a problem. Tori, I hate Mike Florio, that is all. Fair enough. I know a lot of Lions fans are not fans of his. Steve, greetings and salutations, exclamation point. Hey, coach, is there any chance of Derek Barnes returning? Question mark. Never hear any details of his injury, i.e. did he have surgery? I know he's been working on it, and Barnes himself has come out and admitted, I want to say it was, maybe a month ago, maybe not that long, but right around there. He was no longer doing recovery in Florida. He was doing in Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson, and it does feel like it's been about a month. They've been fairly quiet on him and John Kaminsky, but again, let's Scooby-Doo it. If you get one or both of those guys back, how much deeper is that defense? It doesn't mean they're superstars. You may not be the biggest playmakers, but you know what? You add more layers to that D and more potential to do something. See, France, the offense is going to need to carry us. Coach, I like your idea yesterday for saying skip it and go for it every 4th down. To be fair, that wasn't my idea. I was reiterating what Dan Orlowski and others did say. It would be my opinion too, and I was glad to see that I'm not the only idiot who thought the same way. But again, you've got nothing to lose these last 3 games. You have everything to win, though. So you have, the coaches know what they can and can't do on defense. They've got a real good idea what their strengths are. In my opinion, and I probably wouldn't make it that long as an NFL coach because of it, this upcoming week, I'd just say the heck with it, man. If we're past I'd probably say our own 40-yard line, I'm going for it on 4th down. Assuming it's not 4th and 10, 4th and 8, 4th and 300 or something like that. But if it's 4th and 4 or less, I'm probably going for it. You know what? Because again, if I don't think my defense is that good, I'm going to do everything I can to put points on the board. If I don't think my defense can get stops, does it really matter if they've got to go 45 yards or 70 yards? I guess that would be my mindset. Tori, thumbs up, Lions strong, 100%. I'll go with, Michael, at Tori, thumbs up, Lions strong, 100%. Rob, also 97.1 should go back to the easy listening format, WJOI, and give the Tigers and Red Wings games back to their sister station, WJR. I could always pick them up anywhere in the state. Yeah, and now you guys, I think probably your best bet's listening to them online. See, Dale, greetings, salutations. Missed your live show for 2 days, but have replayed them. Anyways, I take the media for what they are, full of hot air when it comes to the Lions. Lions have proved them wrong all year long. Yeah, 100% right, man. I get national media, journalists, whatever, on Fox Sports, CBS Sports, whatever. You've got to produce compelling content to get people to watch. Otherwise, you know what? You don't have a job. So I understand why they say some of the things they do. They want to get under your skin, get under your emotions, whether in a good way or a bad way. But, hey, it is what it is with them. And It doesn't mean they are correct with some of their takes, I would say. Stephanie, good morning, boys. Exclamation point. Mosley and Rakestraw will be back this week or next week. So the secondary should be fairly fine. Alex is back next week. Correct. So the linebackers should be pretty solid. Just need. All right. Must be more here. Let me look down. Oh, okay. Here we go. Adams, O'Connor, and Martin to hold up next to DJ. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with things. I do think the secondary, are you going to have a Carlton Davis out there? No. But we'll have to find out what we got with Mosley. Rakestraw, hey, someone's been clamoring all season to see him. Here's your opportunity, man. If that hamstring's all healed up, you're going to have an opportunity to fill in for Dorsey there. So we'll see what they do. Again, to your point with Alex Anzalone, I think him, Jack Campbell, David Long Jr., Jamal Adams, and whoever else, Bo Plan, man. I mean, you're going to have a pretty decent linebacker group. Doesn't mean it's going to be great, but I think you're going to be good enough to be an NFL starting linebacking group. As far as the D-line, that's $1 million question. If it was me right now, I'd probably say DJ Reader, Adams, Zadarius Smith, and I guess probably Muhammad is your defensive line. And is it going to be good enough? I don't know, but I think it's not a horrible defensive line. Of course, I could be proven wrong. All right, let's see. Dale, they didn't like being wrong, and it hurts them that they have to talk about our great Lions. Fair, yeah, you might be spot on with that. Rob, the Lions do better as underdogs anyways. Quote, the boys, end quote, like to play with a chip on the shoulders. I think there's a lot of Lions players who like to play with that chip on the shoulder, and maybe the coaching staff too, so you're probably spot on with that. Clark, now that you said that like that, Stephanie, I don't feel so bad about things. Probably, yeah, there's probably some truth in what she had to say. Flathead Frank quoted the quote from Dan Campbell with a smirk on his face. Quote, last time we lost, we won 11 straight, end quote. That's not going to happen this season. Laughing out loud. Dan has a lot of confidence in the guys, and he has available. Exclamation point. And as a coach, man, you got to believe in your players. You got to coach them up. You got to figure a way to put them in the best situations possible. You guys already heard me talk about it after the Buffalo Bill game. That was the one thing with Aaron Glenn. I've got a lot of respect for Aaron Glenn, but rewatching that game and not just trying to watch it live and commentate on it, I was not exactly a fan of the scheme. And I just think you were playing to Josh Allen's strengths versus weaknesses. Big Eddie, greetings, salutations. We have enough talent on offense to win the Super Bowl. I would agree. Yeah, I'd say it's going to be hard to find a group in the NFL that clearly has better offensive talent than us. Can we use that enough to overcome some challenges? Question mark. I think so, and I would think you're spot on with that. Jake, what do you got? Not a homer, but I have faith that we can still get the number one seed. Me too, man. I really do. I think we got a real strong possibility. But you know what? You got to start by winning this game this Sunday, winning Monday Night Football against the 49ers, and then set up that big showdown with the Minnesota Vikings. And let's not forget, the Minnesota Vikings, I want to say, still have a couple games they could potentially lose. One of them being the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is playing pretty good right now. Green Bay could do us a real big solid by beating the Minnesota Vikings. Dale, not to be political, but the media hates Lions and Trump so much that it shows what they have in common. It might be some level of truth there. Might be. Michael D., I see a 6-game winning streak. Oh, yeah, I'll go with that. I like the way you're thinking. Man Bear, good morning, friends. Good morning to you, too. Susan Scott, me too, at Jake, because we control our own path forward, and the Bears/49ers might be playing for draft status. Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of truth to that because, the 49ers, especially, if they lose this week, they're done, though. There's no chance they get there. The Bears, as we all know, there is no chance they're getting to the playoffs. I do believe they're playing for draft status. Man Bear, let's Scooby do this. We can win out, exclamation point. Oh, yeah, I like the way you're thinking. Papa, one day at a time. We can do this. Agreed. Art, most of the sports media is a bunch of buffoons trying to get a paycheck. You are correct. And I honestly believe most of it is scripted for attention, reaction, and ratings. Yeah, 100%. That's their job. Their job is to get under your skin in a good way or a bad way and get you to watch or read or whatever it is. I would say back when newspapers were more prominent, that's what a headline was. It was to get you to buy that paper. That was its sole purpose, you could say. All right, Quentin, greetings, sanitation. What happened to Kurt Steele? I think he's on vacation right now, if I'm not mistaken. Moonscar Blade, Curtis on vacation in the Bahamas. There you go. All right, So Smoke, good morning, all. Are we getting anyone back from injuries? In the next week or two, we should. We should be getting a few back. All right, guys, let's get over to our special guest of the day. Sorry that we had to delay him from yesterday. We had, I guess, some technical errors, but you know him, you love him. He's the Brett with grit. He's the guy from the other side of the pond. Whatever you're going to say, let's go over and bring on Anthony from Roar Lions UK. Anthony, how you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, Dan? How you doing, Dew Crew? Hope you are all well on this lovely Wednesday morning.
So, well, let's just get right into it because, hey, we get it. We all got stuff to do, and this show doesn't run forever. Lions, they've got a lot of injuries on defense. We all get it. The national media has been all over, apparently, the impending doom and gloom for the Detroit Lions. Do you think the Lions, A, can still win the NFC, and what do you think our chances are going into the playoffs?
Absolutely. I think we can still win it. I mean, this one defeat, if one thing it's going to do for us that's been great, it's going to get all these people who've been, showing us love and that. They're showing their true colors now. The media's reaction, how everybody has just written us off. Like, people are talking in past tense now. The one I did was Robert Griffin the other day saying they had such a great team. And I'm like, we're not dead yet. We're a 2-loss team. We've not lost back-to-back games in over 2 years. And yes, we've got injuries to deal with. But for me, why I'm still confident we can go there is our greatest weapon is still intact, our offense. And people might say, yes, we've lost Monty, but we've still got a 1,000-yard rusher. We've got guys who've been here for a long time, Craig Reynolds, who will come in and be absolutely fine in relief. Every time we need something of him, he stands up and delivers for us. We've got a good, promising young rookie in Sione Varkey still to come up on there. And, our offensive line's healthy. It's had its troubles, but it is still healthy. Goff is playing the best he's ever done. Our receivers are stepping up. Laporta's back on fire again. The old adage is the last thing that goes from a great boxer is his punch. And while ever he's still got his punch, he can win a fight. And that's what we have. We still have the offense that can go out there and land a punch harder than anybody in the NFL. And we saw that the other day. We came up just short against the Bills, but quite frankly, they've got the best QB in the NFL at the minute, playing at the highest level he's ever played in his life. You don't come across that very often. And it's the regular season, as much as I hate to say it. How many times have the Bills beaten the Chiefs in the regular season? And then when it's come to the playoffs, when it really matters, you've seen who the real champion is, because they're just not capable of dealing with it. And mentally, we're one of the strongest teams in the NFL. So when push comes to shove and when you've got to put the chips down and you've got one opportunity to get through in a playoff game, we can still do this. So I'm still very confident as long as that offense stays intact.
It would seem like, I think we all understand, we win the final 3 games, we have the number 1 seed. But if that doesn't happen, we just want to focus on the North. You look at the Minnesota Vikings, they play at Seattle this week. So they got to go, I guess you could say, halfway across the country. They're going to have to play, against the Seahawks at the Seahawks home field, which is no easy task. I do not know if Geno Smith's going to play. But then they come back, they play the Green Bay Packers, and then us. Do you think it's probable the Vikings lose one of those games other than against us, against the Detroit Lions?
I mean, any given Sunday, right? Anyone can lose against anybody. And that's what we've just had the other day is it's any given Sunday. Like, teams don't win 11 in a row very often. Like, right. It's not something that happens. You will always lose one. So the law of averages would state they will. I mean, they are playing really well at the moment. I mean, people say we've peaked too early. I think maybe with this loss we haven't. Maybe they're the ones who are going to peak too early because they are just on a hot run right now. But there are deficiencies in that team. And let's not face it, they were playing a very bad Bears team the other day. There's a Bears team whose heads are in Cabo right now. So I don't think you can really take much away from that performance. But it's going to be difficult. They could very realistically win out. We could be going into the last week, playing for the number 1 seed, etc. And I still believe we can go out there and do it. Weirdly enough, I think the Bears is probably one of the toughest games left because they've nothing to lose now, and they always play us tough. Like, those teams are the worst ones to play against. The Niners, we owe them. The Vikings, it's going to be a tough running, but I still think we can do it. But yeah, the Vikings have a good chance of going unbeaten, so it's going to be close. It's going to go to the last week potentially.
So you brought up the Chicago Bears, you brought up the 49ers. What do you think's going on with both of those franchises this time? Do you think they're playing for draft status, or do you think both teams will come out and try to beat the Detroit Lions?
Chicago, it's about pride at this point. Like they've got to come out and try and win because they're just getting embarrassed every week. And the thing is, when you stack losses like this, it can lead to far-ranging changes for the players as well. So I think they're going to be up for this. I think Caleb's going to be up for this. Like, I think the media have been really unfair to him. Like, the dude got speared the other day, and everyone's showing that picture of him lying down. He's been sacked over 60 times. He's been hit countless more. He was limping onto the field on their second drive. He was hurt before the game. That guy is obviously not healthy. If they were doing the right thing, they wouldn't play him against us, like, at all, because he's just one step away from a serious injury. But they do. Of course, the 49ers will. Like, we're not going to get it easy with them. Everyone's going to want to spoil against us, and it's up to us to show that we can go and beat them. So there's no easy games at all, and especially with the Vikings and the Eagles breathing right down our necks, it does put an increased bit of pressure on there. But I think this loss will also have released a lot of built-up tension as well. That's generally what you see with this team. They win a lot of games, and they just need a little bit of a gut punch. Just every now and then, like Dan says, you need to be reminded where you came from, who you are, and now they will. So actually, I think this will benefit us, the loss, going into these last three. If we'd have beaten the Bills again, it would have been great, but I could have seen us slipping up in the last couple.
I can go with that. So let's Scooby-Doo this then, Anthony. You've got Aaron Glenn, we get it. He's lost some players on defense and more than a few. If you're him, if you're Dan Campbell, what are you doing to try to make this defense work or play to its strengths or whatever you want to say these the remaining portion of the season, the regular season and postseason?
I mean, first thing is I try and keep them off the field as much as I can. You try and keep them rested because it became increasingly apparent, especially late in this game, they were just really gassed and they were unable to get stops. And that's not their fault. Like, with Allen being able to scramble out the pocket all the time, it's so difficult to hang with a receiver for 6, 7, 8 seconds and not let him get out there. And you know, we struggled. Like, the first 2 drives of both halves, we didn't score any points. We can't do that. Like, we can't have this because that takes up the most part of a quarter when your defense is out there. I mean, you're barely even getting a third down. We turn the ball over, you know, right down in our own half in the second half. So you've got to stop that. But then outside of that, you've just got to get a bit funky with your scheming. I think you've got to put players in a position to succeed. It just felt like they were there were no surprises coming from them the other day. They were just almost trying to sit and take it. And that's what we used to do when we didn't have the personnel in years 1 and 2. We just used to sort of sit and take it. We need to try and be a bit more aggressive. Like, we've got guys who can go blitz the pass. You know, we don't do any corner blitzes. We don't do any safety blitzes. Getting Iffy back will be massive for us. And hopefully he's back this week. If not, he's definitely back for the 49ers game. So we can start blitzing a bit more. We can start helping that defensive line out because that's what it needs. They just need to be a little bit more aggressive, I think, because all you need is one big play at the start of a drive. Get them at second and 15, second and 16, get that tackle for loss. You can get them off the field. And then you can protect your defense a little bit more. And obviously the offense it's got to play lights out. It's got to be, you know, it's got to start better so that it can put our team in a good position. Because when you're playing from behind so much, it's not easy on the defense either because teams can just keep running it at you. And that's what the Bills did. They just kept running and wearing us down because they were so far in front. So you got to put them in a favorable game situation as well.
You know, a lot of Lions fans are coming at Kurt Steele because apparently the Lions only lose when Kurt Steele's in the Bahamas. Do you think now that he's back, we're back to being Super Bowl champions?
I do. I think Kurt sacrifices need to be made, my dude. Take your holidays during the off season, like March to August time. You're gold. So, but yeah, I still do believe we can make it, and I'm not gonna not believe. I was sad on Monday morning, but then when I saw the collective reaction of the entire country, I'm just like, people were dying for this. They were
Yes.
dying for us to lose. They couldn't wait for us to lose. And now they're trying to sow discord amongst the fans because the fans are fighting amongst one another. You know, everybody, you wouldn't think this was a 12-2 team in some cases. And I would just say to people out there, look, it's all right to have doubts about this team and, you know, wonder what the defensive impact's going to be and is it going to kill off a great season or something like that. But at the same point, it's, you know, we're in this on our own. Everybody wants us to fail. And if there's one team that can mentally dig themselves out this hole and work its way out of it and work harder than anyone else to still succeed despite everything that's happened to it, it's this team. It thrives in these sort of situations. And now they've got a full game's worth of tape to adapt, see what went wrong, change things up. And history says they'll learn their lesson and they'll learn it quickly. So, you know, whether you're a bit more pessimistic, whether you're a bit more optimistic, the key thing is just to stick together because everyone else out there, they're waiting for us to fail and go back to the same old lines, arguing with one another and being unhappy and stuff like that. And that really riled me up this week. So that's kind of why I'm in the more optimistic camp now. I just want to stick it to the man, stick it to everybody who's written us off and be like, our team's just that good.
So, Dan Orlowski, and it just with George's comment here, they both kind of fit. And Booger McFarland were talking about that this may, in their opinion, actually makes the Lions more dangerous because they really have nothing to lose. If you're on the offense, I think most of us would agree the Lions offensively still have as much talent as anybody else in the league. You know, could easily win the Super Bowl just from the offensive talent that they have there. Do you think this compels Dan Campbell to be gambling man Dan a little bit more and say on fourth down, sort of like against the Green Bay Packers, they just go for it on every fourth down?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, a lot of people have issues with the onside kick. I actually agree. You know, at the time I didn't. I thought it was terrible, but that was because of the result of the onside kick, them running it back to the 5. But
right
when it's clear the defense is not going to make a stop, you have to try and manufacture an extra possession out of somewhere. So you go to your special teams. And like, I like that kind of aggressiveness from Dan. That's why we won against Green Bay, right? 2 fourth down touchdowns, fourth down to ice the game without that aggressive mentality. And I tweeted this out the other day. We are 12-2 because of Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness. We are 12-2 because of our offense. We are 12-2 because our defense, despite all the injuries, has somehow found a way to make it work and always gets by. And people need to keep sight of that. We are 12-2 because of everything that's happened so far, and that includes Dan Campbell and his aggressiveness. And I do not want it to change in the slightest. And I think that is our best way going forward. Because teams, you see the look of excitement on their face when they get to fourth down and they all start to run off the field. Then they're like, uh-oh, you know, we've not done the job. They're coming back on. They need to go for it. So, you know, and then we beat them. We convert the fourth down. You see the look of dejection on their face. They can't stop it. They literally have to stop you for a full 4 downs. Not 3 and then you punt it. It's 4 and, you know, then maybe if you're lucky. That's why I liked actually what the Bills did. The Bills took that same kind of ethos against us. They were going for it on fourth downs. They were getting aggressive. They weren't settling for field goals because they knew that's how they had to beat us. And hopefully more teams don't follow that show. But yeah, I want him to stay exactly as he is right now. And, you know, this team still has a lot to play. We've done nothing this year. If this season ended today, we've done nothing. What have we done? We've set a franchise record for the amount of games we've won. Who cares? What they do? No one cares about that in the history books. We have still achieved nothing. So the fire should not be gone at all from this team. This is about winning Super Bowls. And that is the only thing at the end of the day. So I think this team is just as fired up as it was before, just as leveled in as it was before. You just need a defeat every now and then to ground you a bit because it's just part of the game.
You know, I think most would agree the Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the league. You look at Taylor Decker, you look at Frank Ragnow. I think most of us agree Frank Ragnow has probably been playing hurt all season long, and he's probably not going to be really healthy until next season. And then you look at Zylstra, who I think is, if he's not playing like the best guard in the NFL, he's in the top 3, maybe 5. And then you got Penei Sewell. But when you look at Graham Glasgow, do you think it's potentially time for the Lions to replace him in the starting lineup? It does feel like he's hurt, 1, and struggling 2.
Yeah, and this is why I'm not, when people go, oh, we've got next year, we can come back next year. No, wrong mindset to have,
Right.
because we might have a lot of problems next year. As you say, with Glasgow, it's looking troublesome with him. It's been for a long time now. Zeitler's 35. Zeitler's playing well, but he's getting on in age. We're going to need to replace him eventually. And Frank, Frank, it's just how long can his body hold up with the injuries? We don't know. Now, he's had a bad month. I don't care. If anybody in this franchise has earned the right to have a bad month of football, it's Frank Ragnow, because he has played basically with his leg hanging off for years and been an elite all-pro talent for us. He will find his way, but you've got to make big changes on your interior offensive line. Think of the injuries players are coming back from next year. Aleem's on an ACL. Rodrigo's on an ACL. Hutch is on a broken leg. Like, we don't know if these players are going to come back and be the same as they were before. Injuries affect people. Like, our defense could suffer long-term ramifications for this. So you might need more players on defense. You've all of a sudden got a lot of gaps to fill. And next year might not be as good as this year. You might not get back right away. You might need a year to consolidate, which is why you still go all in for this year. If Hutch is healthy, send him in. None of this resting him and, let's get him ready for next year type. You send him now because the opportunity is there now and players want to win Super Bowls. But we could potentially have problems next year. So, I figure they'll figure their way out again. I think the offensive line will figure its way out. It's too good to not be. And I just think the Bills had a really great day. They got one of the best DTs in the NFL, had the game of his life. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned with regards to this season, but next year, maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you that in my opinion, in sports, you get your opportunity to take it because there are no guarantees. Other teams improve. Sometimes people age. Other injuries happen. Obviously, injuries have ravaged this team this year, but you get an opportunity to do something this year. You do it here now because that's what you're guaranteed. Lions, we know they're in the playoffs this year. We know that if they win the next 3 games, you know what? You've already won one game in the playoffs in essence with the bye. So if you had to look at the positive side of things going into the playoffs, what's one thing you feel damn good about going into the playoffs for the Detroit Lions?
Again, I think it's our big game mentality. Like, when it comes, again, people say we can't be the big teams, Bills, etc. It's regular season. I don't really care. In the playoffs, we've shown that we can come up with that big game mentality, and we're here to fight. The only reason we didn't beat the 49ers is because we were absolutely crocked in the secondary. And it was a new experience for them as well. First time they've ever been to an NFC Championship game. You have that experience in your room now. We are an experienced playoff team. We're not riding the crest of a roller coaster like we were last year on a wave of emotion. We're probably going to get home seeding as well. So Ford Field is the biggest equalizer in the entire NFL. I don't care who comes into Ford Field. I think we can beat anybody in the NFC who's going to come to us in Ford Field, even the likes of the Eagles, etc. We can beat them. And then all you need is one great game in the Super Bowl. It's just, one throw of the dice. So you just give it everything. But we're experienced now. That's kind of what I have. Our young guys have played playoff ball. They know what it's all about. They know what's required of them. And I believe we'll have a coach who, he will be aggressive. He will go out there. He will take it. He will put the screws to another team, and he'll make them break.
One last thing for you, just because, I know it wasn't talked about a ton nationally, but I do want to bring this back up. I'm a Ross St. Brown. I know there were some Lions fans that were actually blaming him for the loss because of the fumble. And, I think there was another drop pass or something like that. But the fact he's out there grabbing whatever it was, 13 or 14 passes and nearly 200 yards passing while battling food poisoning, what's that say about him? And what's it also say about the fact that this team has guys like Amon-Ra, like Hutchinson, who wants to come back this year, like Dave Montgomery, that's doing everything he can to find a way to get back on the field in the playoffs. It seems like the vast majority of these players, they're not worried about anything other than playing for each other and trying to get this team to the Super Bowl. What's that to you say about the strength of this team mentally?
That's why I'm so confident about them in the playoffs. They've got guys who will literally die for this team, in a metaphorical sense. And, when we talk about the thing of going longer, going harder, going stronger, this is what these guys will do. I mean, you're a 12-1 team. If Amon-Ra's sick, you're at 12-1. You're already in the playoffs. It's very easy to go, oh, you know what, guys, actually, I'm going to take the day off, just rest myself up, get better, etc. He's like, no, if you're all going to go out there and do it, then I'm going to go out there and do it. And the quote from Dan was very poignant, I felt, in his press conference the other day. And when he was speaking about the injured players, he's like, you know, we've got to make sure their sacrifice isn't in vain. Like, so many players this year have put so much into it. Hutch, Barnes, Aleem, you know, Rodrigo, these guys have given their heart and soul to the cause, and they're out now, and you can't just give up now they're gone. You've got to do it for them. They have put you in this position. They have given you a golden opportunity to go and win the whole thing, and the least you can do now as a player is give everything you've got as well to the cause and go out there and do it. And Amon-Ra, playing while sick, he's doing it for his teammates who have helped get them into this situation. That's the kind of mentality you want going into the playoffs, not a Devondre Campbell refusing to sub in because he's not getting snaps or anything like that. You want a team who's... And Amon-Ra's not had a lot of targets this year. He's not had his usual... He could have complained this year about his usage. He's not. He's been in there blocking. He's waited for his opportunity, and he's gone out there when he's ill, and he's had the game of his life, which, you know, gave us a fighting chance in this one. So I just think it says that no team in the NFL is going to fight for it harder than my team is. And that's why I'm so confident they're going to go and do it.
Okay. All right, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a shout out to everybody about your great content, where they can find you. And then once again, as always, man, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, no, appreciate you having me on, Dan. It's always a pleasure to come and chat with you and the Do Crew on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, as it might be. But yeah, you can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. We're a group of Detroit Lions fans from across the pond. We're live on Mondays. We're live on Thursdays. We do game streams. So if you want to come say hi to us while the games are on, please do so. And I do a college show on Wednesdays. I'll be live later talking some college ball. So if you want to drop by, say hi, talk some college ball, then do so. But yeah, Roar of the Lions UK is where you can find me. But thank you, Dan. Thank you, Do Crew. And probably, are you streaming Christmas? In fact, I might not be able to get on Christmas Eve. So I will wish you all a happy Christmas and a happy holidays now, in case I don't see you before then. If I do, then great. But have a great holiday, everyone. Enjoy your Christmas if I don't see you before. And hopefully we get some more Lions wins to celebrate in the meanwhile.
Well, Merry Holidays to you too, man. Whatever you do, I hope you have a great one. And we'll see you on the next time you hop on the show, man.
All right, you take care. See you all. Bye.
See you, Anthony. All right, as always, thank you for Ant-Man for coming on the show. Hey, if you guys do get an opportunity, go check him and the guys out. Go hit him with a subscribe. Go hit him with a like. Does real great work. All right, let's get to a few more, and then I got to get out of here just a little bit early today. So, all right, don't remember where I left off. Why can't they give Jameer Jefferson a chance? Asked David. That's a great question. The only thing I can assume is just the coaching staff sees more in the other players. I mean, that's a guess. I don't really know. Rob Phil, there's no Utica and one in Warren. I wish they'd go back to LA. Fair enough. Don, Phil, so if you're rich, you can't get food poisoning. Wow. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could say is he probably just ate somewhere or maybe made something. I mean, who really knows, man? But food poisoning can happen. I know I had a subtle version of it maybe like a month ago or something. And I was thankful that it went by. Let's see, Miles Marker. Thank you, Anthony. Roar Lions UK, one pride worldwide! Exclamation point. Agreed. Derek St. Brown is the reason the game was as close as it was. Yeah, and you can always any play, any game that comes down to literally, I guess you could say the Lions one score on the last week against the Buffalo Bills. You can over-examine all sorts of things. At the end of the day, he had a heck of a game, man. Yes, he had one fumble. Things happen sometimes. Sometimes, as I like to say, the other teams make plays. All right, Phil, really, I do not live downstate. Okay, do not live downstate. X8, there is a Del Taco in Allen Park. I did not know that. See, Jay-Z, always great to hear from Ant-Man. Later, man, 100%, and good to see you as always, my friend. Let's see, Rob, happy Xmas, mate. Yeah, 100%. And you guys, I will not do a live stream on Christmas Day. We'll deal with it next week when we get to it. But Hopefully you all have a great Thanksgiving. Or excuse me, great Christmas. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see, Courtney, Del Taco in Southfield Road, Allen Park. Got food poisoning there myself. Maybe that's what was behind it. Let's see, Courtney, grab a handful of probiotics. There you go. That probably helped flush out the system. Rob, Phil, I was surprised too when I was a musician in LA. It's where you went when you couldn't afford Taco Bell. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. If there is some breaking news later today, I'll get over to you as quick as possible. Otherwise, if you would be so kind, before you check out, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. As you know, it helps the channel out a lot. Take care. Enjoy your day. Do something kind for someone you don't know. And we will see you all on the next Lions Talk Live. Let's see here. Let's play this one.
Excuse me, sir. Would you... Donations to Reverend Moon? Juice for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness? How about Buddhism?
Help Jerry's kids? Oh, yeah. Scientology?
Or nuclear power?